Cheers and welcome my friends, I'm Horath Drak and we are playing Tyranny as a noble mage. Welcome back. In the last episode we just made our way over to Horath, the sort of castle of the Iron Legion. This is where Drak got fused into his armor, so well, maybe we'll find something that'll help him out of there again. We're just gonna go ahead with the plundering. What's that one? Drowsy drop. Asleep for 35.4 seconds. That's pretty cool.
Do you have eyes on this?
Ooh, got something over there. EO just calling. Sigil of Life, regenerating. Does one more damage compared to my stuff. And it gives me... yeah, regenerating Sigil of Life instead. Let's put that to me. Let's give that to me. Let's have a look at it. It is a superior stuff. Does arcane damage. And I regenerate 1% health every 6 seconds and get plus 10 to control life. That's pretty cool. That's a very valuable stuff actually. So I'm gonna take that one. App, you got your own stuff. You might be wanting another stuff though. But yeah, I mean, she's singing all the time, so I guess we want to hold on to the discordant melody. Not sure why I would want to do that. I mean, the immunity to frightened might not be a bad thing. Yeah, we'll go and keep that. No, on me. I mean, I'm gonna keep that as my second weapon set. Oh, that's pretty cool. Very good, actually. Right, so let's come over here. Welcome to Horath. I mean, these guys like me, I guess. So don't have much to fear. We're trying to investigate the Iron Legion, see if they actually are responsible for the treachery that happened in Vendrian's Well. My money is on the Scarlet Chorus, but we shall see. Greetings, Fatebinder. Akados, 32nd Legion. The soldier salutes. Glad to see Tunon's agent grace Horath. Ashe's troop has no lack of order, but a servant of the court is always welcome. Between our missing commanders and the Scarlet Chorus lieutenant pinned down, I'm afraid we have our hands full. I suppose I can spare a moment for conversation. You need something from me? Tell me about that Scarlet Chorus lieutenant. Seems our troops have this little maggot of a Scarlet Chorus lieutenant cornered over at Kado village. From what I'm hearing, it's the same guy who's been ransacking our caravans the past few weeks. If I wasn't already handling something for Ashe, I'd go and skin the filth myself. You being here simplifies matters. Make sure this lieutenant doesn't leave the village with his life. I will handle it. Because that's actually something interesting. Good of you to pitch in. No one will mourn the loss of one more chorus rat. He marks the location on your map. More questions before I go. Not a problem. What do you need? This is just a normal dude. Naturally, you have my undivided attention. Where were you during the conquest? You could say I've seen the tears from top to bottom. I dug latrines at our encampment at the Gates of Judgment. Then my promotion sent me to Lethan's Crossing. Got into a few rows with the Bronze Brotherhood. Not a pretty sight. Then I had a brief deployment in Apex, but the fighting was winding down around when I arrived. After that I did a tour of Stalwart, but got transferred out here before the edict tore everything apart. Oh, got transferred out. Right. Tell me about your home in the north. I hail from Belmywell, a small hamlet far west of Kairos' capital. It's nothing glorious, but I can trace 6 generations back there, so it's home. I hope to return there someday with a heap of tales, rings, and renown. Once Graven Ashe gave me his favor and recruited me to join the army, my family went from respectable farmers to elite folk. Better regarded or respected than damn near anyone. They must be doing well for themselves. How did you join the disfavored? Ahead of the conquest, Graven Ashe sent recruiters to all the outlying towns, looking for worthy talent. The village held a tourney and melee to demonstrate our local muscle. Nothing fancy, mind you. It was only fighting on hay bales with wooden spears. I had the distinction of toppling even the biggest contender. A familiar tale, and one after my own heart. Drak nods with respect. It's a good thing I succeeded. I'm more useful to Kairos on the field of battle than a field of wheat. Okay, farewell. So we got a new quest. Broken Spear. A Scarlet Chorus troublemaker. Mouthbreeder Nefcio. The names of these Scarlet Chorus guys. Has spent the last year targeting disfavored supply depots. The disfavored have him cornered in a village near Lethian's Crossing. Travel there and subdue him before he breaks through the defensive line and escapes. Yeah, it looks actually like we should go after them nearly instantly, from what I see. There's Fox Trick. Let's save it. Fatebinder, can I have a work? It looks like another opportunity to serve out some justice. Kind of you to stop and chat. I'm in a sticky situation, and no one in my gang is alive or around to help me out. Stop wasting the Fatebinder's time. He's better things to do than listen to some criminals mewling. I'll be the judge of that. Tell me your problem, soldier. Thanks for hearing me out. The disfavored aren't keen on conversation, otherwise I wouldn't be here. It's impossible to get a word in edgewise. She glares at her captor. Soldiers caught me outside a breach in the old walls. That's it. I wasn't inside. I hadn't stuck my toe through the threshold. And I wasn't dancing with any bane. I have a healthy relationship with self-preservation. Then why are you arrested? You're only hearing one side of the story, Fatebinder. Our scouts observed this wretch readying to enter the old walls. Her account is flawed. Her guilt witnessed by multiple trustworthy northerners. The soldier makes a point of standing extra straight when he addresses you. I'm sorry, is readying to enter the best you have? Because I could just as easily argue that you're readying to get knifed between your shoulder blades, but it doesn't count for shit until I see blood and bronze. I didn't go into the old walls. Case closed. Before I adjudicate on this matter, I need your mutual cooperation. If you ask me, this prisoner has already been tried and sentenced, but if this little game will silence her caterwauling, then be my guest. I'll stand by your decision. I couldn't land me anywhere worse than this. What were you doing outside of the old walls? My gang went inside as I tried to tell the disfavored clods 100 times over. I shouted myself raw, trying to get them back out, but the gang was having none of it. Our leader discovered the breach and got himself excited over the chance of finding treasure. Try as I might, I couldn't talk him out of it. Soldier, can you speak to this defense? I wasn't there, of course, but I'm familiar with the arrest record. There was no gang, just a lone opportunist out to make her fortune breaking Kairos' laws. The scouts could tell just by looking at her that she was headed for the breach. She's a fiery one. Put up quite a fight when they took her in custody. I've no reason to doubt the charges. So you had no interest in entering the old walls? Never. I grew up in the Tiers. Even we knew better than to go inside the old walls. If not because of Kairos' law, because the things lurking inside would like to eat us. Whatever you can find in the shadow of those ruins, it's not worth the risk. What was your gang doing there? Causing trouble, looting, no more or less than what gangs do. Our boss was obsessed with holding his position, which is healthy when you're in the Scarlet Chorus. When he came to the conclusion that the old walls might have some powerful artifacts, he resolved himself to find one at all costs. Funny to see a guy so wrapped up in survival trying to get himself killed. Any idea where your gang is now? I never saw them make it out of the old walls, so either did or they didn't. My money's on the latter. If they made it out, they aren't wasting their breath trying to find me, so fuck 'em. Did your gang cause the breach in the old walls? What? Are you kidding me? It would either take incredible force or incredible magic to bash through that ancient barrier. We had neither at our disposal. Either one of Kairos' edicts or some local mage caused the breach. Whatever ruling you make, don't pin that one on me. I'm inclined to agree. Don't make the mistake of giving this one too much credit. I'm ready to make my judgment. Let's have it, then. I hope you got everything you need. I'm gonna go with that one. Because, yeah, I mean, how can you judge intent, really? At the very least, the evidence is insufficient to prove the charges. You're free to go. I gained wrath with the disfavored. Shrewd, Fatebinder. Very shrewd. I think you'll do just fine. This goes against my orders and my reason, but I cannot argue the ruling of Tunan's agent. I'll let you go. Try and stay out of trouble. I'll stay out of the old walls, but that's all I can promise. So, she's running away. I won't forget how you did right by me, Fatebinder. Well, we'll see about that. There she goes. Out of my life.
On it.
You should be happy then, shouldn't you? Right, there's something to steal. What's that one? Potion of Elemental Barrier. That's pretty nice. We're still not using enough of the potions. What? Elixir of Resolve. +1 Resolve. That doesn't have a timer? This heady elixir increases the imbiber's readiness to tackle physical or mental challenges. Artisans rely on deep concentration and willpower to maintain a link to their craft, where the slightest interruption could prove fatal. Though masters of the art are more experienced, apprentices often look to outside resources when they want to practice in a safe environment. I'll try that one whenever I reach 20 points. These all have timers on them. That other thing doesn't. Let's take it all. Gain some subterfuge points. We could rest here, which is good to know. The store contains spoils acquired on the battlefield, all of it neatly labeled and organized. Right. What are you? Just a normal guy. I've been guarding this portcullis since we took Ironhearth from its defenders. Maybe you should take a break. There's another Iron Walker. Sometimes I get dizzy. This thing is huge. Absolutely huge. They put up quite a fight, but the disfavored stamped out those southern rats.
Do you have eyes on this?
Nice. Another thing. Just some money. Some agate. Let's take it. There's Osmia. Let's see what Osmia has to say. Hello, Osmia. You must be the Fatebinder of Tunon, the disfavored Ironwalker Bowers. Welcome to Ironhearth. I'm sure that Graven Ashe appreciates any help you can offer. Circumstances have a way of coming together, so that the disfavored are always stretched thinner than we would like. What can I do for you? Why are the disfavored so overworked? She rubs her palms together and frowns. We're trying to shoulder the brunt of this civil war without the strength of numbers. The Scarlet Chorus can throw 1,000 disposable bodies at an issue without a second thought, but we're forced to be a little more discriminating. We might be trained to deal with the stress of combat and all-night drills, but we're fatigued even by the high standard we set for ourselves. She studies you in a cautious manner. Not that I need to burden an agent of the court with my misgivings. Once the war is over and the tears are properly subdued, my hope is that Kairos dispatches some relief troops to support the occupation. We all deserve a seasonal rest. The court is always receptive to the needs of soldiers. Your point is noted. That's very generous of you to say, Fatebinder. I'm grateful to know that someone is listening. A nervous smile brightens her expression. Where were you during the conquest? After the Edict of Storms hit, I spent some time among the ruins of Stalwart, digging out survivors from the Legion. Afraid I didn't find much. She glances up at Barrick. You must have moved on by then, or else we would have assembled a team to excavate you. My prison moved with me. There was no reason to tarry. He bows his head respectfully. I still think about the brothers and sisters we left behind. Sometimes I can imagine that I hear their voices carry on the wind. I'll be on my way then. Right, there's another Iron Walker and a dog. I wouldn't want to fight the Scarlet Chorus either in a civil war. I'm pretty sure it's rather nasty. We've got a bronze guitar. The production of new potions isn't keeping up with demand. Many of these bottles remain empty. Right. What about you? Even though you're not a fully fledged disfavored recruit, I've been authorized to grant you purchasing rights from our store, within certain limits, of course. What would you like to see what we have to offer? What limits are those? Nothing personal, I assure you. Graven Ashe wants us to control our supplies without restricting access to this army supporters like yourself. Finest arms and freshest provisions are reserved for the soldiers under his direct command. I'm sure you understand. The Archon takes our protection very seriously. Is an agent of the court not deserving enough? The soldier hesitates. As Tunon's vassal, I'm sure that you are afforded certain luxuries that don't extend to us. The same goes for the disfavored. Archon Ashe recruited us from the Northern Empire, so we're subject to his favor. Such is his right. The quartermaster scratches the back of his head. I could go for the subterfuge option here. Go for this as a slight, a disgrace. I demand compensation. Is it really the thing that our noble mage would do? I mean, I get it. I don't really need the stuff that they have either. I mean, yeah, understood. Let's see what it can offer me. They're on one side and I'm on the other. Oh, nice. We got light armor. We've got the iron guard armor. Disfavored iron sword. Is that better than what you have, Beric? Well, less recovery time, but also less DPS. We've got a javelin. We got that what one-handed and thrown weapon. What's that? A dagger, I guess, or something like that. Martyr. Heal nearby allies when defeated. Passive. And allied plus 38% health. Not served. This was a dagger formerly attributed to the decorated veteran Lothus Ambedin and Evocatus, who died with no living heirs. His armor and weapons were stored to the Legion and given out as rewards for showing distinction in the protection of one's cohort. Interesting. I could try to give him the better stone tower shield, but he already has one. And I guess there's no better. I could go for Earth Shaker's robes, but I want to go for the tune on robes myself. And these are already okay-ish. Nice! Sigil of Stone, that's a core. This spell contains a magical core which is used in spells that manipulate stone. Oh man, I need that one. I need that one. Gotta sell some stuff. What do we have? We have these agates that we don't need. Let's sell that Qatar. We want to keep Landry's Quill because that's pretty good. The Mirrored Stompers we could actually do without. Let's sort this stuff by value from high to low. Right. That's not going to bring us up there. We need more. I'm going to sell some cheese. Some fish. Some fruit. Do have a bunch of healing items. That's pretty nice. Let's sell the meat. We're getting nowhere with that one. Let's get rid of the water. Crap. Crap. Rod Spear is pretty good. I mean, the Raven Shawl, it is directly increasing. It's directly increasing an attribute. I definitely want to keep that one, but it's rather valuable. We're not really that high on the subterfuge. I'd like to keep it nonetheless. That one we want to keep because it removes wounds. Waking Death is pretty good. This stuff is also, yeah, doesn't look like I can really manage to get there. Oh yeah, we got that one, the Topaz. Let's sell that one. I mean, I guess I could sell my staff. That'll do it, actually. I don't really need that one. It's nice, but it does less DPS and the courage. Oh well. Let's do it then. Let's try to buy the stone sigil. Trade for it. Good. So that was definitely worth it. Let's learn that one then. Needs 50 lore. So, now we got stone over here. Evoking energy through the sigil of stone takes great force of will, as rock is not easily shaped to a human's desire. Perhaps the newest magical sigil on Terratus. Developed by the disciples of Archon Cairn. Yeah, so let's try see what we can do. So that one does petrified. Flesh to stone. Coat an enemy in rock and earth, petrifying them. This spell is very inaccurate. Okay. What does that one do? Stone spike, so that's a damage one. It has a weak interrupting. It has some area of effect. Draw a jagged spike of hard stone from the earth and send it flying towards a foe. The spike interrupts the target and deals pierce or crush damage, whichever is greater. That's pretty cool. What is that one? Unsettled core. Nice one. Emitting foe for 30 seconds. That does crush damage. Generate an aura of swirling rocks around the target that continually deals crush damage to enemies. That's super cool. I think we need that one. Definitely need that one. What else do we have? We have... That is the weapon buff. Imbue the target's weapon with the weight and strength of hard stone. Enemies struck by the weapon take additional crush damage and are knocked prone on critical hits. That's super useful. And that one, giant boulder. Form a huge stone boulder, then send it hurtling forward. The boulder bounces erratically and flattens everything in its path, dealing crush damage and knocking foes prone. Cool. So that's very powerful. I think we might want a bunch of them. What is that one? What are we doing with this one? Concussive bolt. We're keeping that for the rooted affliction, I guess. We've got the mantle of flame. The healing aura. Yeah, it's difficult. I guess I can't have one of these. Because I can't have one of these stone things until I get more spell slots. That's a bit of a shame, but I guess there's no way around it. I wonder if there's any more additional ways to get more spell slots. We only need one level up and then we get it, so that's good. Undying. Plant your banner on the battlefield. You and your party members near the banner regenerate health and receive a bonus to damage. It's a bit weird that the magic tree would not give me more spell slots. I mean, I do get a couple of them, but not enough. Not nearly enough. Guess I might be forced at some point to actually change the spells depending on what we encounter. Well, yeah, petrifying someone seems super useful. Seems more useful than this concussive bolt thing, which only roots and dazes people. I think we'll go for that one at least. So which one was that? That one, right? Directed intent. Yeah, flesh to stone. Well, it's only 10 seconds. It's not very accurate, but I can push the accuracy. It's -5. Can reduce the recovery. Can buff up the range. Can buff up the duration, and we can even put the sigil of bleeding on there. We'll see how we fare with that one. I mean, it's a 90 lore spell. Let's go and assign it to this thing over there. Right. It would be good if the other guys went up to a higher lore level, but it's not gonna happen, I guess. So, I guess we're gonna be okay with that one. Let's save it. It's definitely a great development, getting the stone thing. I think we should be able to get the sigil that has Siren's power, the emotion core, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult because we're not friendly with the Scarlet Chorus. So these guys have access to their own sigil, that's stone sigil. The production of new potions isn't keeping up with demand. Many of these bottles remain empty.
Sorry, I can't.
Okay then. So yeah, these guys have their own sigil, the stone sigil, and the Scarlet Chorus has Siren and that sigil. So I guess we might have to try and steal that one. Maybe we find it. And then Christian told me that he found the Atrophy sigil. And we don't have that one either, do we? Fire, Vigor, Life. No, we don't have Atrophy yet. But we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm pretty sure that we can find it somewhere. Should we talk to Graven Ashe? Holy crap, there's a huge amount of soldiers over there. Interesting. More Legion guys. It's actually not as big as I thought it would be. These reports list all known Scarlet Chorus outposts and strongholds as well as troop compositions. It's safe to assume that Graven Ashe has his own eyes and ears within the ranks of his enemies. Ironhearth is a bastion of discipline that we've carved out of the chaos. Alright, if you say so. What's going on over here? They're not gonna say anything. The soldier pales upon making eye contact with Siren. Yeah, they don't like Siren, I guess. But having an Archon on my side is a good thing. I mean, why would I ever decline the help of an Archon? Let's talk with Graven Ashe now.
Can't do that.
I mean, I was hoping that we actually find
Sorry,
something
can't.
hidden inside there. Let's see. Fatebinder, it's good of you to report in. These days it is difficult enough to judge friend from foe. I'm pleased to recognize you as the former of the two. Ashe favors you with a curt nod. Yeah, we have some favor with him. We also have some wrath. After what transpired at Venrian's world, that is favored must hold fast to our allies. You are here because of your support at the siege, but I don't mistake your confidence for devotion. The Scarlet Chorus would not have you. Tunon is my master, and he stands above your petty squabbles. If he stood above them, then he could see well enough how the voices of Nerat has conspired against our forces since the beginning. No. For all his claims of objectivity, I have my suspicions that your Adjudicator is as compromised by this war as any of us. What is it you require? How can I continue my service of the disfavored? These are troubled times for all, but none more so than the forces of Kairos. Our organized offense has splintered, loyalties are challenged at every level of command, and much that we have built during the conquest crumbles under its own weight. We had thought the Vendrian Guard were the final death rattle of this region's defiance. We were wrong. The Tears have risen up against Kairos, emboldened by their countrymen. And while the disfavored labor to maintain order, that serpent, the voices of Nerat, grows his army of lunatics and sellswords, preparing to lash out when we least suspect it. So our little exercise in defiance wasn't a total failure. I'll try and find some cold comfort in that knowledge. There can be no peace while the voices of Nerat lives, and no order while the Scarlet Chorus rampage across the lands. The elimination of chaos must be our first priority. Then we will have our time to govern the Tears as Kairos intended. Can I depend upon your support against the Scourge? Tell me more of the Tears uprising. I try not to bother myself with the details. These objectors will be dealt with and forgotten soon enough. I know of the Unbroken, a group of former stalwart miscreants that arose in the Blade Grave, arming themselves with a misguided sense of national pride. Did we hear about the Blade Grave? It's the name given to what remains of the realm of Stalwart. After its ruination when Kairos proclaimed the Edict of Storms upon the land, the magical storm struck the disfavored Unbroken armies during the height of the engagement. Yeah, we know about that already. Okay. Beyond them, the dissident elements of this fallen realm interest me little. What would you have me do? Our position of authority in the Blade Grave is far from secure. We need to establish ourselves in the region in order to cultivate our strength for the battle to come. As soon as I am confident in our chances, we will depart this realm and wipe the Chorus threat from the face of Territus. The Unbroken, former daughters and sons of Stalwart, vex our efforts to secure this region. The Edict of Storms offers them cover. They slip past our patrols in the light of day, hiding their movements behind clouds of dust and debris. Kairos cast this blight on the country to set an example, not to plague those of us loyal to the north. You must travel to Sentinel Stand and seek out Stratus Herodin. He is the last of the old stalwart bloodline who called themselves regents. Put him to the sword and end this edict once and for all. That's kind of odd to ask who is Stratus Herodin after he just told me who it is, but let's just say that. The last of an elder bloodline that ruled Stalwart and maintained its dignity. He's also a filthy coward. During the last battle of Stalwart, he crouched behind the walls of Sentinel Stand Keep and refused to meet our forces on the field of battle. So why is he so important? I guess because he's the condition. He would neither surrender nor impel his soldiers to do so. As such, Kairos decreed that storms would ravage the country until the regent was dead. Stratus Herodin was free to kill himself, of course, but he was either too proud or too gutless for the task. Why has no one killed him yet? Because he persists in crouching behind the walls of Sentinel Stand. With the Edict of Storms raging around the citadel, no one has been able to enter or exit since the last year of the conquest. No bird or missive has left the wind wall either. The edict is all the proof we have that Herodin still lives. Okay, tell me of the Edict of Storms. Kairos visited this plague upon the people of Stalwart to punish their leaders. Cowardice. We had thought the edict would have been dispelled long ago, but to our dismay it endures. The rust and debris filling the air is the source of constant irritation, and hampers our ability to conduct this war on our terms. You should consider the subjugation of Stalwart and the ending of this edict tasks of equal importance. Okay. Thankfully, your goals are well matched. The persistence of the edict is tied to Harodin's bloodline. Kairos decreed that the storms will continue until the last of the regents is slain, and the regents to end the edict and return to me victorious. I'm noticing a pattern here. They all want us to remove those edicts. And because we did it once, they think we can do it again. Maybe that's true. I understand what must be done, but I will not make for the Blade Grave at once. Consider him dead. Find the last regent, kill him, and end this Edict of Storms, and staunch his seeping wound of rebellion once and for all. The downfall of the Unbroken in the old regent will send a message throughout the tiers. Our rule is absolute, and dissidents will not be tolerated. I will travel to Sentinel Stand and judge by my findings. If your perspective is as lawful and orderly as it ought to be, the right path should seem clear. The Unbroken must be destroyed and the edict must end. Should you arrive at any other conclusion, I suggest that you stifle your opinion and follow orders like any good soldier. There's one final matter to discuss. My daughter went missing in the second year of the conquest. I have reason to believe she's trapped in the fortress of Sentinel Stand. If you can't find Amelia, bring her home to me. How do you know she's in Sentinel Stand? It is the one location in all of Stalwart that we cannot reach. If her detachment of soldiers was taken captive, she would have been placed beyond my power. No doubt for the southern wretches to use for negotiation. Its expression twists with distaste. Tell me about her. She has her father's stubborn persistence. She's an excellent fighter, though more brazen and eager to test herself on the field of battle. I've objected to this disposition in the past, but it seems as integral to her being as the very breath she draws. Our relationship has endured its challenges. The last several years I've been a better general to her than a father. Once the war is over and she's restored to the Legion, I hope we can find it in ourselves to know each other once more. What makes you think she's still alive? We have traveled together through this fallen, corrupt land. You're no doubt aware of the aegis I extend to my troops. It is the boon I grant my northerners for loyal service and devotion to our shared cause. That is basically his power. He's capable of shielding his soldiers from injury and fatigue. Protective influence exerts itself even from far away or as he sleeps, if he sleeps. If you understand how this arcane power works, but all who have faced the Disfavor in battle will attest that it works. Right. As my army feels my guardianship, I'm keenly aware of them in turn. Their concern, their pain, it is my burden to carry as their leader. Amelia is alive. I have awoken at night in cold sweats, my bile rising with violence. What torment she suffers at the hands of those stalwart animals is a mystery. I only want her restored to heal in the company of the Legion. Could she have willingly abandoned her duties? As her father and general, I'm ashamed you would even ask of it. I hold my soldiers to a standard that would seem impossible to the rebel the court sees on a day-to-day basis. My daughter is no exception. I really shouldn't piss him off further. If I find her, I ensure her safe return. That's the least I can do. That is all I ask. Amelia is but one soldier, yet if I had the forces to dispatch, I would make her retrieval my highest priority. She's a command of the highest renown and a paragon of northern values. Fatebinder, I offer you my support on this mission. The Blade Grave is a place of memory. I left many cohorts buried among the ruins, and no small part of myself as well. Could you elaborate? The matter is a sensitive one, but I fear to speak of it in the company of the great general, though he doubtless knows it already. Beric intends to stand tall before Graven Ashe. Speak on, son of Beric Conan. Nothing I've seen you accomplish in the field has diminished you in my eyes. And I know my soldiers as well as I know myself. Ashe nods with approval. I lost countrymen by the hundreds in the last day of the Stalwart campaign. And for my troubles I became fused in this armor. The blade grave is the last place I ever felt human. That is all I will say about it now. The last battle of Stalwart was a terrible time, most of all for you who survived. I mourn those we lost and recite their names often during the morning drills. We cannot restore the broken bodies to the north, but we can remember them as they were. Is that all? Your manner has changed. Beric stands straighter, and for a moment you can't tell if he's going to lash out or crumple into himself. You're prepared for anything. After a long pause, his shoulders sag the slightest bit. My cohort marched on Sentinel's stand to complete a mission. We failed. The walls of the keep defied us, and the last region of Stalwart refused to meet us in battle. The coming of Kairos' edict cut us off from our objective. Because of this, the Blade Grave is also a place of regret. You have much invested in this mission. Of course you can accompany me. I appreciate that, Fatebinder. Graven Ashe is attentive and understanding to each of his troops, and it pleases me to see his example in you. And in you, Armored One. Never forget that I found you at the mere germination of your potential, and you have accomplished much in the ensuing years. Thank you, General. Though it is impossible to tell through his helmet, you assume that Beric is blushing. Your map is already marked with the position of Sentinel's stand. It would take me 100 lifetimes to forget those old walls, or the day the edict shattered our advance. I have further questions for the Archon of War. Ask, Fatebinder. Take care with your time. The Unbroken crawl over this territory like ants, unchecked by our northern boot. I want to know more about the Disfavored. We are more than a mere army. I ensure that the Disfavored Legion represent everything we hold dear in the north. Rigid discipline, training to perfection, respect for law, and the importance of family. As conquerors, it is our duty to teach the savage lands not just how to live up to the values the Empire sets, but how to live for them. What is the Legion's history? Yeah, he's telling me that because I am favored. As Kairos conquered the north under a single banner, there were those of us who resisted the call to unification. I was a young warlord at the time, petulant and inflated by pride. I rallied the sons and daughters of the north to stand against Kairos. Our offensive was valiant. We planted our shield wall between the armies of Kairos and our homeland, declaring that no tyrants would dare cross us. You actually stood against the Overlord? Unbelievable as it may seem in retrospect, that is so. At the time I thought it the only available option. Bending the knee to a foreign power was not a prospect I could audience easily. Our name suggests that the army has a blemished history, but our uprising in defense of the north is a source of pride. With that I could have stood in your shield wall, General. You were there in essence, my champion. The bloodline of Beric Conan reaches into the deepest annals of northern lore, or else you would not count yourself among my beloved soldiers. Ashe inclines his head toward Beric with reverence. We held our ground for a time, drawing the attention of others who would add their strength to ours. Every victory was discussed and celebrated by other warring factions that refused to submit. As you have witnessed, none can stand against Kairos. Eventually, my legion shattered against the relentless onslaught of Archons and soldiers. They brought me in chains before Tunon. He told me that enemies of Kairos would all be put to the sword, unless I took that one opportunity to surrender and join the fold. Now, I can say that because I'm a noble scion, such an indignity for an honored warlord to suffer. Perhaps, but it was no less than I deserved at the time. I was overproud of my accomplishments, and nothing but the Overlord's censure and a threat of execution could stem my egoism. Out of loyalty and love for my countrymen, I swallowed my pride and bent the knee, offering my soul and my life to the Empire. My army was granted the rights of Kairos' peace, and we lived on as servants of the Overlord. Since we had transgressed and rebelled against the offering of Kairos' protection, my elite legion was stripped of their decorated name and dubbed Disfavored, a mocking reminder of our past crimes. Even as we stand above all others in the ways of war, we struggle to earn back Kairos' favor. Every soldier in my legion is descended from those who stood with me during the rebellion. I keep them close to me because they were the finest northern stock, and their continued lineage is a reminder of Kairos' mercy. Or, if you want to think about it differently, a reminder of Kairos' victory and their defeat. This bears the seed of treachery. That goes for you as well, child of the North. But your unwavering loyalty and respect for our heritage, you are beloved in my eyes. He nods at Beric. Tell me of the units. Most of the Legion is made up of stone shields. They are the bricks in our shield wall. The Iron Walkers are the trained and efficient killers who branch out from behind the phalanx to fight among the enemy ranks. Crescent Runners are the fleet-footed light infantry who bait the enemy into premature attack. The Oathbind are specialized scouts and advanced infantry. Then there are the Iron Guard, tempered in the forge of war, armored to survive any blow, and commanders of surpassing skill. The only other units are my Earth Shakers, the former mages of Khan, who command avalanches and harness nature's fury to our ends. You regard the Southerners with great severity. Oh, do tell. Ab's eyes alight with excitement. Do we smell bad? Is it the accent? The Legion takes hatred of the Tearsmen and elevates it to an art form. Just what exactly did we do to offer such offense? The South has squatted in willful ignorance of Kairos' superiority for so long that they don't deserve my respect. As the rest of the Empire coalesced into a united, shared culture, the Tearsmen prided themselves as distinct. We looked on them from afar with nothing but scorn. All that I see in the Tears confirms my bias. There's lawlessness, neglect, corruption, infighting. Everything the vaunted North has disposed of through superior breeding and culture. You don't see that as contradictory? You stood up against Kairos after all. That happened centuries ago, during the earliest days of the Northern Conquest. If you think these periods of history can be easily compared, then you are more short-sighted than I could have imagined. I stood against a presumptive overlord to defend a way of life that no longer exists. The South can afford no such illusions. Kairos has dominated every corner of Territus, and claiming these lands by might is already accomplished in all but name. Yeah, he's certainly a hypocrite, if not even a bigot. This is exactly what he did. But no. The realms of the South are willfully ignorant of their place in the world, and I will neither celebrate or flatter it with terms like independence or rebellion. With full knowledge of the consequences, the former lords of the South endangered the lives of their people. This cannot be tolerated. Of course, it's possible that these Tearsmen may come to enjoy all the best of Kairos' offerings, but it will take generations of trial and the long-term eradication of culture as they know it. A worthy pursuit by any standard. Nice to hear the General confirm it. The Tearsmen are naturally defiant folk, and you'd have to silence our ways for generations to shake the courage and tenacity out of our blood. Keep talking, Tidecaster. You can join your friends in one of the many mass graves that litter the realm. Beric, that's inappropriate. Ab was just stating an opinion. Wendrin's word was proof that opinions are poison. I would not have them in this company or in this fortress. A pity that we aren't of a similar mind. Do the disfavored have their own laws? I hold the Legion to a particular set of standards. We don't have laws as you would know them under Tunon's teachings, but every soldier in the Legion is aware of my expectations. The first, honor the Legion in thought and deed. I cannot allow atrocity or heinous crime to drag my respectable Northmen into shame. I expect my soldiers to follow Kairos' mandates and conduct themselves respectably. The second, honor all oaths with your life. This respects the vows made to me as Archon and Kairos as Overlord. There can be no formal marriage for the disfavored ranks, this to prevent any obligations higher than the military. My soldiers can pair up and sire offspring as they wish. The North needs daughters and sons, and I would not force my countrymen to choose between family and loyalty. And last, honor your shield and weapon. The maintenance and care of arms and armor are critical to a soldier's success on the field. Of course, there are the rare exceptions. How do we fare under that shell of iron, son of Beric Conan? The Archon regards Beric with interest. Well enough, General. I know I'm not in top form, but I'm able to execute my duties with distinction. As you say, as you say. Let's talk about something else. I want to know more about your rebellion against Kairos. You're right to be curious about our history, but it concerns me that you would speak of rebellion. The battles of the past are centuries cold and hard as iron. The uprisings of the past might inform our present efforts. They might, at that. Oh, I gained favor with him. Nice, where are we now? Oh, level 4. They might at that. None of the squalling tearsmen hold a candle to my efforts, but I would rather you marched forth understanding your enemy than not. So, you want to hear how I decimated the armies of Kairos, built my legion around the northern values, and achieved a measure of power? It's true that I accomplished much as a northern warlord, but my life began in earnest under the overlord's tutelage. Who did you defeat during your rebellion? I defeated Bloodruin, the Archon of War at the time, by leading him into a trap. He must have been so consumed by the fury of the hunt that he overlooked a bit of hasty misdirection. Ashe chuckles and shakes his head. Even the execution of that foe was nothing compared to the victory I would win later. I also defeated the voices of Horath. The general beams with pride. Oh man, that's why the voices of Horath is such a dick to Graven Ashe. I'm sure that must sting. Strange to imagine that happening so many years ago, and here we are again. My legion nearly destroyed the Scarlet Chorus, humiliated them, in fact. I suspect the Archon of Secrets is still licking his wounded pride. His soldiers are as disposable and unloved as anything can be. The Voices holds his pride and satisfaction in higher regard. He's crafty enough that nothing can wound him deeply, though I seem to have earned the distinction. What was it like to assume the Archon of War's mantle? Well, at first I was unaware that I had assumed any power beyond my normal authority. It might seem obvious now, but war tends to confuse such things. I had no desire whatsoever to claim or accept such a responsibility under Kairos. It took years for me to fully come to terms with my own surrender and subjugation. But if I was meant for any title in the honored hierarchy of Archons, war seemed an appropriate one for me. In truth, I think of myself more as a general and a father. Tell me about fighting the Archons. We won many battles against the Archons. Though we did the most damage against the Voices of Horath, he was by no means the only Archon to assault our shield wall. When the Archon of Entropy tarnished our weapons, we fought with wood. When the Archon of Sorrow sapped our fervor, we rallied around Songs of the North. I dismantled their offensives even though I lacked an Archon's education or experience. No doubt this is one of the reasons that Kairos singled me out to join the ranks. How did you rise to power? That tale is bound to the rebellion itself. I always inspired loyalty and devotion in my soldiers, but as the years wore on, I grew to love them in turn. Every stone shield is as dear to me as a blood relation. I never would go to any lengths to see them succeed. As we all know too well, General, Beric strikes a fierce salute. When we stood tall against Kairos, the women and men of my legion trained harder, marched further, and endured more than even I had taught them. We were unstoppable. The soldiers credited me with this new advantage. I had given them my total commitment, and they felt protected and strengthened by my presence. At first I thought it merely their nature to look to their leader for courage, but nay, they were the first to discover the truth. You mean your Aegis? You clearly paid attention during the conquests. My Aegis, as it came to be called, covers my loyal soldiers in a protective shroud. They also have 10 times the endurance and coordination of a standard army, shrug off lethal blows without incident. At first I attributed the performance of my legion to their training and breeding, but soon it became clear that something greater was afoot. I suspect this redoubled Kairos' interest in me. The power of an Archon is something to be nurtured or stamped out in accordance with Tunan's judgment. Once the forces of Kairos viewed my influence over the troops as demonstrable threat, they resolved to put an end to my defiance once and for all. They sent every army they could spare after us, all but sacrificing the Scarlet Chorus in the process. Eventually, as all detractors do, even I fell. What happened next? They dragged me to Tunan's court in chains. I killed a dozen guards on the journey. If I was to be shackled for the Overlord's delight, I would pay back the indignity in my blood. When I knelt before the Adjudicator and felt the force of his judging stare, my temper cooled, turning from anger to fear. That's about how I imagined Ari would have coped had she been taken in chains. Ab chuckled softly, showing only a moment's flash of sorrow. That's the command of the Avenging God. Junon offered me the terms of my own sentence. If I walked the path of insubordination, then the lives of my soldiers were forfeit. If I bent the knee to Kairos, an opportunity that would not present itself twice, then I could continue to serve my legion as their Archon. It was a difficult choice, but not so trying that it paralyzed me. My soldiers had not earned such glory to see it all snuffed out before their time. After I made the choice, Tunon invited me to a council of Archons, where my loyalties were affirmed, and my place among their numbers sealed in a compact to Kairos. No sooner had I become an Archon to my soldiers than I became the Overlord's Archon of War. You already know the rest. My wanted legion became disfavored. The Archons even forced me to cast off my northern surname. Graven was a joke at my expense, since I buried my pride in the past. I am a vassal of Kairos now, but the protection of my soldiers is secure. I have guided their family lines across generations, and the disfavored show no signs of slowing. Okay, enough questions for now. I'm gonna talk with him more, but my voice is giving out, so I really need to sort of cool off, take a break from my voice. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. If you didn't, tell me why in the comments so I can improve. And if you want to see more of the series, if you want to see the end of our discussion with Graven Ashe, and I think we'll go after the cornered Scarlet Chorus Lieutenant in the next episode, then consider subscribing and join me next time. Thanks. Bye bye.